Fear is one of the most powerful forces in the human experience. It is a force that shapes decisions, dictates behavior, and often limits potential. But among the many forms of fear, one of the most insidious and pervasive is the fear of disappointment. It is the fear of falling short, of failing to meet expectations, your own or those of others. It is the apprehension that no matter how hard you try, things might not turn out as you hoped. The fear of disappointment is not just a fleeting feeling. It is a mindset that can silently erode ambition, paralyze action, and diminish joy. Yet it is a fear that can be confronted, understood, and ultimately mastered. To live fully, to pursue greatness, and to achieve meaningful goals, one must learn how to navigate the terrain of disappointment without being consumed by it. The fear of disappointment begins with expectation. Expectations are not inherently bad. They can motivate, guide, and inspire. But when expectations are rigid, unrealistic, or externally imposed, they become a source of pressure and anxiety. When you tie your sense of worth to outcomes, you give disappointment a seat at the table of your life. You become dependent on circumstances, others' approval, or external validation for your sense of value. This is where the fear begins to take root. The higher the expectation, the greater the risk of disappointment, and the more fear begins to influence choices. To confront the fear of disappointment, the first step is understanding its source. Ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? Am I afraid of failing to meet my own standards, or am I afraid of judgment from others? Often, the fear of disappointment is not about the outcome itself, but about the meaning we assign to it. We attach identity and worth to results, making every setback feel like a personal indictment. Recognizing that fear is rooted in perception, not in reality, is the first step toward mastery. Once you separate your worth from outcomes, the sting of disappointment loses much of its power. Another aspect of the fear of disappointment is perfectionism. Perfectionism convinces you that anything less than flawless is failure. It is a thief of courage and creativity. When you are afraid of disappointing yourself or others, you may delay action, overthink decisions, or avoid opportunities altogether. You may become paralyzed by the possibility that you will not achieve the ideal outcome. But life does not reward perfection. It rewards effort, resilience, and consistent action. The fear of imperfection should not prevent you from pursuing your goals. Instead, it should fuel your desire to learn, grow, and improve along the way. Disappointment is not a signal of failure. It is a signal of engagement, of having dared to try. Managing the fear of disappointment also requires reframing failure. Failure and disappointment are inevitable in life. They are not optional. Every person who has achieved greatness has faced setbacks, endured criticism, and experienced moments where reality did not match expectation. The difference between those who succumb to disappointment and those who rise above it is perspective. Those who succeed view disappointment not as a reflection of their inadequacy, but as feedback, as data, as an opportunity to adjust and move forward. Reframing disappointment as a teacher rather than a verdict is a crucial step in transforming fear into empowerment. A practical way to manage this fear is through preparation. While you cannot control every outcome, you can control the effort and strategy you put into your actions. Preparation reduces the unknown, strengthens confidence, and mitigates the anxiety that accompanies the fear of disappointment. When you are prepared, you know you have done your best, and this knowledge provides a buffer against the sting of unmet expectations. The fear may not disappear entirely, but it becomes manageable because it is no longer fueled by uncertainty or self-doubt. Visualization is another powerful tool. By imagining possible outcomes, including those that disappoint, you prepare emotionally for challenges. This does not mean expecting failure. It means acknowledging the possibility and planning how to respond constructively. Visualization allows you to rehearse resilience, practice calm, and develop strategies for overcoming setbacks. It builds mental fortitude, which is essential for navigating the moments when life does not go as planned. Fear loses much of its control when you are mentally and emotionally ready for reality, whatever it may be. The fear of disappointment often stems from attachment to results. We become attached to the idea that a certain outcome will define our success, happiness, or identity. But attachment is a trap. Life is inherently unpredictable, and no plan guarantees certainty. When we tie our self-worth to results, we set ourselves up for anxiety, stress, and fear. The alternative is to cultivate detachment, not indifference, but freedom from the tyranny of outcomes. Detachment allows you to give your best effort, take risks, and pursue ambition without being enslaved by the possibility of failure. It is the mindset that allows you to act boldly, even when the stakes are high. One of the most effective ways to reduce the fear of disappointment is through incremental progress. When the goal is overwhelming, fear magnifies. When the path is long and uncertain, the mind fabricates worst-case scenarios. Breaking large objectives into smaller, manageable steps creates momentum and builds confidence. Each step forward is evidence of capability, and each small success reduces the grip of fear. Incremental progress makes disappointment less catastrophic, because even if one step does not go as planned, you have already achieved measurable results that affirm your ability to move forward. The fear of disappointment is also amplified by comparison. When we measure our progress or worth against others, we create unrealistic benchmarks and heighten the risk of feeling inadequate. Social media, public perception, and peer pressure often exacerbate this fear. Working smarter to manage disappointment means focusing inward, measuring growth against your own past self, and defining success on your own terms. Comparison steals joy, erodes confidence, and magnifies fear. By grounding yourself in your own journey, you reclaim power over your response to outcomes and reduce the influence of external pressures. Mindfulness is another tool in confronting disappointment. Being present allows you to focus on the process rather than fixate on results. The fear of disappointment is a future-oriented anxiety. It lives in the anticipation of what might go wrong. Mindfulness brings attention to the present moment, to the actions you can take, to the effort you can invest now. It reduces rumination, calms the mind, and provides perspective. When you act with awareness rather than anxiety, your efforts are more effective, your mind is clearer, and the fear of disappointment diminishes. Self-compassion is critical. We are often our own harshest critics, and the fear of disappointment is frequently fueled by the internal voice that says, if you fail, it will be unbearable. Self-compassion allows you to treat yourself with kindness, understanding, and encouragement when outcomes fall short. It reminds you that you are human, that mistakes are natural, and that worth is inherent, not conditional. By cultivating self-compassion, you create an internal environment where disappointment is manageable rather than destructive, and fear loses its ability to dominate your decisions. Another dimension of this fear is external judgment. We fear disappointing parents, mentors, peers, or society. This fear can be paralyzing, leading to choices that align with expectations rather than authentic desire. To succeed despite this fear, you must clarify whose approval truly matters. Most external judgments are transient, subjective, and outside your control. Focusing on internal standards of integrity, effort, and growth liberates you from the burden of external disappointment. When your actions are guided by purpose and values rather than fear of judgment, the fear of disappointing others loses its grip. Courage is essential. Fear of disappointment can be paralyzing, but courage is the antidote. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is action in spite of fear. Every time you step forward, take a risk, or embrace uncertainty, you build resilience and diminish the power of fear. Courage compounds. The more you face the possibility of disappointment, the more you learn that you can survive setbacks, adapt, and continue pursuing your goals. Each act of bravery reinforces the belief that disappointment is not the end. It is a challenge, a teacher, a necessary part of growth. Resilience is another pillar. Life will disappoint you at times. Opportunities will be lost, efforts will fail, and outcomes will fall short. Resilience is the ability to recover, adapt, and continue despite these setbacks. It is the understanding that disappointment is not permanent, that it does not define you, and that it can be transformed into motivation. Resilience is built through experience reflection and a mindset that sees challenges as temporary and solvable. The fear of disappointment is diminished when you trust your ability to endure and bounce back. Gratitude is a transformative tool in this journey. Focusing on what is present, what has been achieved, and the resources available shifts attention away from fear of loss or failure. Gratitude does not ignore challenges, it reframes perspective. When you appreciate progress, effort, and opportunity, disappointment becomes less daunting and fear less consuming. Gratitude builds optimism, strengthens mental resilience, and creates a mindset that welcomes challenges rather than fearing them. Action is ultimately the most effective antidote to the fear of disappointment. Fear thrives on inaction. Worry, rumination, and hesitation magnify the potential of failure and amplify anxiety. Action, on the other hand, creates momentum, generates feedback, and transforms uncertainty into experience. Every step taken, even imperfectly, reduces the power of fear. Action is proof of courage, commitment, and capability. The path forward is forged not by avoiding disappointment, but by moving through it, learning from it, and continuing onward. Risk-taking is closely tied to action. Disappointment is a natural part of taking risks. If you avoid risk entirely, you avoid disappointment, but you also avoid growth, opportunity, and meaningful achievement. Working through the fear of disappointment requires calculated risk-taking, choosing opportunities where the potential reward outweighs the manageable cost of setbacks. Every time you take a smart risk, you expand your comfort zone, reinforce resilience, and reduce fear. Risk and disappointment are not enemies. They are partners on the road to success. Accountability also plays a role. Fear of disappointment can be mitigated when you are accountable to yourself and to others in constructive ways. Accountability provides structure, clarity, and motivation. When goals are clearly defined and commitments are made, fear shifts from a paralyzing force to a guiding signal. You become aware of potential pitfalls, anticipate challenges, and prepare to respond. Accountability turns fear into foresight, and foresight empowers action. Finally, perspective is key. Fear of disappointment often magnifies minor setbacks into catastrophic events. The ability to put challenges in perspective, to see the temporary nature of failure, the inevitability of learning, and the opportunity for growth reduces the intensity of fear. Perspective allows you to recognize that one disappointment does not define a lifetime, that mistakes are part of mastery, and that every setback carries the seed of future success. In conclusion, the fear of disappointment is a natural part of being human. It emerges from expectations, perfectionism, attachment to results, comparison, and the anticipation of external judgment. It can paralyze, inhibit action, and diminish joy. But it is not insurmountable. Through self-awareness, reframing, preparation, visualization, detachment, incremental progress, mindfulness, self-compassion, courage, resilience, gratitude, action, risk-taking, accountability, and perspective, this fear can be managed, transformed, and ultimately mastered. Confronting the fear of disappointment is not about avoiding setbacks. It is about embracing life fully, pursuing ambition boldly, and understanding that worth is not determined by outcome, but by effort, integrity, and growth. The path to living beyond the fear of disappointment begins with awareness and continues with intentional action. It requires acknowledging fear, examining its roots, and creating strategies to act despite it. It demands courage, resilience, and perspective. Those who navigate disappointment successfully are not those who avoid it. They are those who face it, learn from it, and continue moving forward with confidence and purpose. By transforming fear into insight, hesitation into action, and setbacks into learning, you cultivate a mindset that allows you to thrive in uncertainty, pursue your highest goals, and live a life not defined by fear, but by courage, purpose, and fulfillment. 1. It is time to move deeper into action. Understanding fear is one thing, mastering it is another. It is one thing to recognize the ways disappointment can paralyze, and it is another to take bold, consistent steps that allow you to live fully despite the risk of falling short. Life is not about avoiding setbacks. It is about embracing them, learning from them, and transforming them into fuel for growth. In this part, we will explore how to act decisively, cultivate resilience, and design a life where fear of disappointment no longer dictates your choices or limits your potential. First, let us address the role of courage in overcoming disappointment. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to act despite it. Every individual, no matter how confident or successful, faces moments of fear. The difference between those who are held back and those who thrive is the ability to move forward in the presence of uncertainty. Courage is cultivated, not born. It grows each time you take a risk, each time you pursue a goal despite doubt, and each time you face the possibility of falling short. The fear of disappointment may never completely disappear, but courage transforms it from a barrier into a catalyst for action. To act courageously, you must begin with clarity of purpose. When fear arises, it is often because the mind is distracted by possibilities, worst-case scenarios, or external pressures. A clear sense of purpose anchors you. Ask yourself, why am I pursuing this goal? What is the meaning behind my effort? Purpose is the compass that guides you through fear. When your actions are aligned with a mission greater than yourself, the weight of potential disappointment diminishes. You are no longer acting simply to avoid failure or please others. You are acting to fulfill your vision, your calling, your contribution. Building on clarity is the power of planning. While fear thrives in uncertainty, a well-constructed plan reduces anxiety and increases confidence. Planning does not guarantee perfection, but it creates a roadmap that provides direction, accountability, and structure. Break goals into actionable steps. Identify potential obstacles and develop contingency strategies. When you prepare for challenges and anticipate setbacks, you approach life with a sense of readiness. Disappointment still may occur, but you are equipped to respond, adjust, and continue moving forward rather than being immobilized by fear. Resilience remains a central theme in overcoming disappointment. Resilience is the ability to recover, adapt, and persevere despite setbacks. It is not an innate trait. It is a skill developed through experience, reflection, and deliberate practice. Every time you encounter disappointment and continue forward, you reinforce resilience. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen your mental, emotional, and strategic capacity. Resilience transforms fear into a teacher, disappointment into feedback, and adversity into a stepping stone toward achievement. The most successful individuals are not those who avoid setbacks. They are those who endure, learn, and persist with unwavering determination. Self-awareness is also critical. Understanding your emotional triggers, thought patterns, and habitual responses to fear allows you to intervene before fear dictates behavior. Pay attention to the moments when anxiety about disappointment arises. Notice your body, your thoughts, and your impulses. By cultivating self-awareness, you create space to choose your response rather than react automatically. This awareness allows you to pause, assess, and decide on an intentional action that moves you forward rather than back. Self-awareness transforms fear from a controlling force into an informative signal guiding strategic action. Another key element is reframing setbacks. When disappointment occurs, it is natural to view it as failure. However, reframing allows you to extract lessons and identify opportunities hidden within the experience. Ask, what can I learn from this? How can this challenge strengthen me? What adjustments can I make for the future? Reframing transforms disappointment from a negative endpoint into a valuable feedback loop. It allows you to maintain forward momentum, build confidence, and cultivate a mindset that views obstacles not as roadblocks, but as essential components of growth. Accountability enhances progress when facing fear. Sharing your goals with trusted mentors, peers, or partners provides external reinforcement, guidance, and perspective. Accountability ensures that fear of disappointment does not remain private, festering and paralyzing your actions. By communicating your intentions and progress, you create a support system that encourages persistence, provides feedback, and reduces the isolation often associated with fear. Accountability amplifies courage, reinforces commitment, and ensures that fear does not dominate your choices. Action, however, remains the most decisive antidote to fear. Fear thrives in inactivity. Worry, procrastination, and hesitation magnify the potential for disappointment. Action, on the other hand, converts uncertainty into experience. Each step taken generates data, feedback, and momentum. Even imperfect action reduces fear because it transforms abstract anxiety into tangible progress. Taking action signals to your mind that you are capable, resourceful, and committed. Fear diminishes when you respond with consistent, deliberate effort rather than retreating into avoidance. Strategic risk-taking is closely connected to action. Life is full of uncertainty, and with uncertainty comes the possibility of disappointment. Avoiding risk entirely may protect you from setbacks, but it also prevents growth, opportunity, and fulfillment. Working through the fear of disappointment requires identifying calculated risks, actions where potential rewards outweigh manageable losses. Every strategic risk taken expands your comfort zone, reinforces resilience, and increases your capacity for achievement. Risk is not the enemy of success, it is the vehicle through which meaningful progress occurs. The cultivation of perspective is vital. Often, fear magnifies setbacks into catastrophic failures. Disappointment feels monumental when viewed through a narrow lens. Perspective allows you to place events in context, recognize temporary setbacks, and maintain confidence in your long-term trajectory. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Am I learning from this experience? What will this teach me for future success? Perspective diminishes the power of fear, restores clarity, and encourages a balanced approach to challenge and opportunity. Mindset shapes every interaction with fear. A growth mindset The belief that abilities, intelligence, and circumstances can evolve through effort empowers action and reduces fear. When disappointment occurs, a growth mindset frames the experience as an opportunity for development rather than a verdict on worth. Fear loses its grip when you view setbacks as essential components of mastery, as stepping stones toward greater competence, and as lessons in resilience. Your mindset is the lens through which fear, disappointment, and challenge are interpreted. Choosing a constructive, growth-oriented lens transforms fear into fuel for progress. Visualization and mental rehearsal enhance readiness. Imagine potential outcomes, including those that disappoint. Visualize yourself responding with calm, resilience, and creativity. This mental rehearsal prepares you emotionally and strategically for reality. It is not pessimism, it is preparation. By practicing responses to challenges in advance, you reduce anxiety, enhance problem solving, and build confidence. Visualization transforms fear from a paralyzing force into a manageable signal, guiding intentional and effective action. Gratitude is another transformative tool. Fear of disappointment is fueled by fixation on loss or failure. Gratitude shifts attention to what is present, what has been achieved, and the opportunities available. By cultivating appreciation for effort, progress, relationships, and resources, fear is reframed and confidence is reinforced. Gratitude provides perspective, strengthens resilience, and fosters optimism, allowing you to approach challenges with a positive, solution-oriented mindset rather than anxiety-driven hesitation. Emotional regulation is essential in navigating disappointment. Fear can trigger anxiety, frustration, or self-doubt, which can cloud judgment and impair decision-making. Learning to manage emotions through breathing techniques, mindfulness, reflection, or deliberate focus enhances clarity and effectiveness. Emotional regulation ensures that fear does not dictate behavior, allowing rational and strategic responses even under pressure. Those who master their emotions move through disappointment with composure, learning from setbacks rather than being consumed by them. Mentorship and guidance amplify capacity. Seeking advice and support from those who have navigated similar challenges provides insight, encouragement, and perspective. Mentors help contextualize disappointment, model resilience, and offer strategies that reduce the likelihood of repeated setbacks. Fear diminishes when you recognize that experience, knowledge, and guidance are available, and that you are not alone in facing life's challenges. Mentorship multiplies confidence and accelerates growth by offering proven pathways through uncertainty. Reflection and journaling provide clarity. Regularly reviewing experiences, decisions, and outcomes allows you to identify patterns, extract lessons, and reinforce progress. Reflection transforms disappointment into actionable insight rather than a source of paralysis. By analyzing both successes and setbacks, you cultivate self-awareness, improve decision-making, and reduce the fear of repeating mistakes. Reflection creates a continuous cycle of learning, adaptation, and growth that strengthens resilience and diminishes anxiety over future outcomes. Community and support networks reinforce courage. Fear often thrives in isolation, feeding on internal narratives of inadequacy and doubt. Surrounding yourself with supportive, encouraging individuals provides accountability, encouragement, and perspective. A community of like-minded individuals offers validation, constructive feedback, and motivation, buffering the emotional impact of disappointment. Support networks are a force multiplier for resilience, reinforcing the belief that challenges are surmountable and setbacks are temporary. Embracing imperfection is critical. The pursuit of flawlessness amplifies fear and sets the stage for disappointment. Life is inherently imperfect, and progress is never linear. Embracing imperfection allows you to act boldly, experiment, and learn without being paralyzed by the possibility of falling short. Imperfection is not failure. It is evidence of engagement, courage, and progress. When you accept that mistakes and setbacks are natural, fear loses its authority and confidence in action grows. Finally, purpose-driven action is the ultimate antidote to fear. When your actions are anchored in meaning, aligned with values, and focused on contribution, the weight of potential disappointment diminishes. Purpose transforms fear into motivation, challenges into opportunities, and setbacks into lessons. Acting with purpose provides clarity, resilience, and direction, ensuring that the fear of disappointment does not dictate choices or limit ambition. When your why is greater than your fear, hesitation loses its grip and action becomes inevitable. Living beyond fear of disappointment is a lifelong journey. It requires awareness, courage, preparation, reflection, and continuous practice. Fear may never fully disappear, but mastery lies in acting despite it. Each experience of disappointment becomes a teacher, each setback a lesson, and each moment of courage a building block of resilience. The individuals who thrive are those who recognize fear, embrace it, and act intentionally in spite of it. They understand that disappointment is temporary, that growth is constant, and that worth is inherent, not conditional on outcomes. Success, fulfillment, and joy are not reserved for the fearless. They are reserved for those who acknowledge fear and refuse to be controlled by it. By cultivating courage, resilience, perspective, gratitude, emotional intelligence, reflection, community, and purpose, you create a life where disappointment is not a paralyzing force but a natural part of growth. You learn to act boldly, take risks strategically, and navigate uncertainty with confidence. Each step forward reinforces the belief that you are capable, adaptable, and worthy, regardless of outcome. Fear of disappointment is not an enemy to eliminate. It is a guide to understand, a signal to prepare, and a challenge to grow. By transforming fear into insight, hesitation into action, and setbacks into stepping stones, you develop the strength, resilience, and wisdom necessary to thrive in an unpredictable world. The life beyond fear is a life of courage, engagement, and fulfillment. A life where every effort is intentional, every setback is temporary, and every action is an opportunity to move closer to your highest potential. In closing, the fear of disappointment is a natural human experience, but it does not have to define your life. Awareness, preparation, courage, resilience, perspective, mindset, action, gratitude, reflection, community, imperfection, and purpose are the pillars that allow you to navigate life boldly. By embracing these principles, you can act decisively, pursue meaningful goals, and live fully without being held hostage by fear. Disappointment will come, as it must, but it will not dominate your choices, erode your confidence, or prevent you from achieving greatness. Your worth is inherent, your potential is vast, and your capacity to thrive is unlimited. The fear of disappointment may whisper doubt, but your courage, preparation, and purpose will speak louder. Each step you take beyond fear strengthens resilience, builds confidence, and reinforces the truth that life's challenges are opportunities in disguise. Do not let fear of disappointment dictate your journey. Embrace it, learn from it, and move forward with unwavering determination. The life you desire, the impact you are capable of, and the person you are meant to become await on the other side of fear. Take the step, face the possibility of disappointment, act with courage, thrive,